And you could find us online at Reco12.com. If you would like to support Reco12, you can go to Reco12.com/support, and you can support us by PayPal, Venmo, and other methods. If you would like to share on Reco12, you can upload a SpeakPipe share to the website. Or you could just reach out to me directly. I will put my contact info in the chat. What else can I tell you all? It's just as well that I'm both the host and the speaker today, because I very much have two people living inside me, right? And it's a shame because I want to get to one of them more than the other. See, I've got self-will Karen, and then I've got God's will Karen. And those two duke it out. And if you're like me, you experience that. And I guess our trick is to not be afraid of that. Like one of my fellows was saying today, Nikki, who leads our Big Book Roundtable podcast on this same Reco12 channel, and Noodle It Out with Nikki, was saying, when you're big, when you're trying to do big things, when you're trying to live the spiritual life on the broad highway, the self-will version of you, Karen A, as opposed to baby K, and I'm going to say more about that later, baby K, God's precious little newborn child that he's taking care of, swaddled in the comfiest blanket and giving her mother's milk and anything she needs, and soothing her when she cries and cleaning her when she's wet. Like that. Okay, so I really love the family afterwards in the big book. I love the family afterwards because I identify as an addict, a codependent, a love addict, a validation addict. Also, I came into these rooms as a compulsive overeater. I didn't find any love in the chocolate cake or the Mike and Ike's, in case you're wondering, or anywhere else I looked, any friendship, job, accolade, even my Ivy League degree. Didn't serve it up. And that's where self-will Karen got in trouble. So why did I do this pop-up meeting? One, I need this weekly recovery. And if you're working the 12 steps, that means you work a step 12, which is working with others, sharing the message with the other alcoholic who is drowning and reaching for the solution with the desperation of a drowning man, like I was when I entered the rooms of OA 10 years ago, like I was many years before that, when I sauntered into Al-Anon because my brother died of an accidental overdose, choked on his vomit, and I had to bring him in cargo to Israel to be buried. And like I did again when my second marriage failed and I was heartbroken, and I thought I'd look into Coda, because see, none of those therapies, modalities, even my religiosity, I'm a religious woman, wasn't quite getting to the bottom of this. But the magic of these 12 steps, is that they help me get out of Karen A and put me, with God's help, into baby K mode, where I am comfortable, safe, fed, cared for, and able to do his will, which really we should think about more often. Why do people love babies? They just smile and listen, right? And are cute. So maybe I'll do some of that this week as I get deep into baby K mode. Nothing is missing. So I want to take you all to page 132 and 133 of our big book. Really, some of my favorite sections. And I apologize for the little bit of the war story shares about my recovery background. I hope it will be helpful. I know we all have our resumes of trauma and drama, and I'm certainly not a big show off. We all have our hairy stories and our checkered pasts. One of the reasons I like the family afterward is because, to top it all off, another kind of a stripe on my shoulder is the fact that I'm a widow with 6 kids. So the family afterwards is my life day in and day out. I'm not one of these, older single people in the rooms. I'm a mother. I'm a widow, and the role God put me in is to serve as both mother and father for the time being, for now, until he decides otherwise. So the family afterward really resonates with me because I have to live with myself, which is hard enough. And I have to be there for my kids, shine a light for my kids, and deal with all the opportunities they bring to me. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in the big book. In the middle of page 32, and this is just perfect because I spoke to you about some serious things. Only baby brother died, first husband died, second husband left, right? But we are going into the solution. So even though I go to the middle of the page, we have been speaking to you of serious, sometimes tragic things. We have been dealing with alcohol, or edit replace codependency, love addiction, workaholism, rageaholism, Al-Anonism, control addiction, drama addiction, in its worst aspect. But we are not a glum lot. Is that just crazy? If newcomers could see no joy or fun in our existence, they wouldn't want it. We absolutely insist on enjoying life. See, how crazy is that? If you're anything like me and you're on this line, it's a miracle that I wasn't killed. It's a miracle I wasn't raped, depressed, mental, institutionalized. Thank God. Thank God. And perhaps some of you were, but you're here now. And that's also a miracle. I'm not saying that to make any jealous. One of my awesome, awesome fellows who I just love so dearly, had no brain activity for a week. And she's working her step 4 like a good girl and looking at her part like a good girl and calling me every day. And just, she's a changed woman. So I give you hope, even if you were institutionalized or you were suicidal or you did try. We absolutely insist on enjoying life. How crazy is that? This one dropped dead and that one dropped dead and this one committed suicide. God forbid. And my country is at war and I insist on enjoying life. I just got back from Tabata class, from exercise. And we're going to talk more about that. We're talking big book again. We're not talking Karen A. We're just talking about Karen A's experience in the big book. We try not to indulge in cynicism over the state of nations, nor do we carry the world's troubles on our soldiers. See, even though I'm living in war-torn Israel where the right wing and the left wing are vehemently opposed, where the religious and non-religious hate each other, because, right, this is the Holy Land, so holiness matters, spirituality matters. See, it's like the Tom and Jerry cartoons. The devil and the pitchfork wants to get the angel with the halo. They fight over the Western Wall, the Dome of the Rock. Judaism, Islam, and Christianity have been warring over the Holy Land and the holy capital city of Jerusalem since the dawn of time. But see, I do not have the luxury of getting into all that because I just, I can't take it, right? The addict can't take it. We can't carry the world's troubles on our shoulders and our hearts. Probably if you're like me, your digestive system can't handle it. Your legs start shaking. We just can't deal. We're not wired like quote unquote normal people. When we see a man sinking into the mire that is alcoholism or people addictions, which our fellow and baby N, Nikki M, says people addictions are worse than alcoholism, love addiction, sex addiction. We give him first aid and place what we have at his disposal. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you work the 12 steps. I'm happy to share the workbook with you. I'm happy to read with you. I'm not here to babysit you. I'm not here to be your real estate broker and find you an apartment. I'm not here to be your best friend. I'm certainly not your therapist to hear about all of your exploits and troubles. And why? And I had this experience recently. Those of us who have tried to shoulder the entire burden and trouble our others are fine. We're still overcome by them. I had one fellow regale me. I thought we were getting close to doing a step 5, but really she just told me about a time she was exploited since she was a little girl, including family members, including multiple people at once. And again, I don't want to I didn't like hearing that resume, so I won't put it on you guys. But see, that was too much for me as the addict and the Al-Anon. When I heard about her every exploit, her every violation, her essay resume, I was a freak. My teenage daughter was late coming home and I was a freak. Where are you? It's 11:01. Why aren't you back? What are you doing? I got into a tailspin of distrust, or as our big book says, fear, the corroding thread, fear. What's going to be with her? Where is she? What's she doing? If any of you are moms on this line or dads, you know that we have no control of our teens. We don't really know where our kids are. We could just hope and pray they're safe even when we think they're at school. So we think cheerfulness and laughter make for usefulness. See, I know that I'm in my addiction, that I'm just, self-will propelled Karen, self-will run Wyatt. When I lose my sense of humor, if you've lost your sense of humor, you are not in the 12 steps. It's time to make a U-turn. See, I really lost my sense of humor last week when somebody said something that hurt my feelings, when somebody criticized me. This week, again, a coworker asked for a phone number for like the third or fourth time. And I felt like, I'm not your secretary. I'm not 411. I'm not the yellow pages. I'm not your directory. You see, I lost my sense of humor. I could have laughed it off. Is it helpful for me to give someone a phone number 20 times, 3 times? I know I'm an Al-Anon, so probably not. Is it helpful for me to do something for someone that they can't do for themselves? Well, it depends. If I want to make my kid a lunch so they don't make it, that's one thing. If I want to make them a lunch, I want to cut the sandwich nicely because I love them, because that's my service, that's a whole nother thing. Anyway, those of us who have tried to shoulder the entire burden and trouble of others, and we're soon overcome by them. How many CODA sponsees of mine who work the 12 steps of the big book are overwhelmed by the neediness of their sponsees? And I say to them, you have family, you have friends, you have obligations. Now, a recovering man who is dying, wanting to work the 12 steps with the danger, desperation of a drowning man, I will put them at the top of the list. If and when they want the solution, even if they're struggling, if they're honest, willing, and open-minded. But see, if they're not, I really have to call my mom. That's more important. I have some friends I have to call back. I have some work I have to catch up on. I told you I have 6 kids. There's always 10 tons of laundry to fold, even when I have cleaning help. See, I can't be overcome or swallowed in by somebody's horror story. But I'm happy to save a drowning man. And if you're an addict like me, and you're sick like me, and you're sick with self-will and self-pity like me, I'm there for you. And you can be totally different religion, color, creed, gender, sexual orientation. We're down. Everybody knows that those in bad health and those who seldom play do not laugh much. So let each family play together or separately, as much as circumstances warrant. Just a side note, in my family afterwards, we've bought a lot of board games this year. Now, I'm not such a board game person. I'm more into like dancing, drama. I'm like a kinesthetic, hands-on kind of person. Maybe trivia, a little intellectual, but I'm not like a board game person. I don't have a lot of patience. But see, I've bought a lot of board games this year. I try to be fun. I try to have levity. I brought art projects. We cannot subscribe to the belief that this life is a vale of tears, though it once was just that for many of us. See, for me, that was yesterday and last week too, when I had these incidents and I tried to take self-will instead of pausing when agitated. See, if a coworker says something to me, it doesn't rub me the right way, I'm officially agitated. I officially need to pause. Now, I know there are some fellows on the line who have asked me about mom, about siblings. Right now, I'm talking about a coworker. But I had, mom stuff too, dad stuff too. When agitated, we pause. That, you know what that looks like? I don't reply to the WhatsApp, not because I'm ignoring them, just because I cannot be of service if I'm irritated, if I'm in self-pity. I don't answer the WhatsApp. I might not read the WhatsApp. I'm not sure we need to block them. Like if someone is really bossy, why am I available? If my teen is screaming, why am I there to hear it? It's because if I'm not there, they're not screaming. But it is clear that we made our own misery. So I want to dive deep into this because I had an incident yesterday, and I'm hoping you'll get some experience, strength, and hope with this. See, I have a really good friend at work, and she's real bossy, and it's a one-way street. And she asked me for someone's number for the 5th time, and she keeps doing this instead of searching her own WhatsApps or looking in the database. And I was offended. My pride, my character defects were all lit up like a Broadway billboard. Madison Square Garden, woo. But see, I made my own misery. I responded. I told her I'm feeling uncomfortable. I shared my feelings. And really, as a codependent and as an addict, I was really confused. And as an Al-Anon, I felt if I send her the number again for the 6th time, I'm enabling. And if I don't, I'm ignoring. In hindsight, what I needed to do was not answer and pray. And pray to God for the next right thought or action, because that's how I live my 10, 11, and 12. But you see, I made my own misery. I do this sometimes. Someone says something crazy because they are crazy. And I have to constantly say to myself, and I constantly say to my sponsees, putting out of our minds the wrongs others have done us. We look for where were we at fault? Where are we to blame? And sometimes it's that easy. Where am I to blame? I read the WhatsApp of Miss Bossy Pants. I answered. I engaged. Again, it is clear that we made our own misery. God didn't do it. Miss Thing just said what she had to say, whether Miss Thing is mom, your coworker, your teacher. God didn't do that. Avoid then the deliberate manufacture of misery. See, if mom is on a tear, being abusive, and I call her because I'm trying to be a good daughter, I manufactured that misery. If I people please, which is dishonesty, and I say, I'll go visit mom, but I'm exhausted and overwhelmed, and I push myself anyway, and then I lose it, I have manufactured my own misery. But if trouble comes, let's say mom wants you to come, mom wants you to be around, cheerfully capitalize it on it as an opportunity to demonstrate his omnipotence. If trouble comes, mom says something crazy, coworker says something crazy, teenage daughter says something crazy, teenage son does something crazy. Cheerfully capitalize it as an opportunity to demonstrate his omnipotence. Now those sound like some real big words, right? That sounds real lofty. God, I needed to hear that. God, it's time to heal this wound. God, it's time for me to really prove I have ceased fighting anyone or anything, as the big book says, even bossy coworkers, even narcissists, even bipolar relatives or abusive parents. Cheerfully capitalize it on his opportunity to demonstrate his omnipotence. And what that looks like is not so lofty. It's like, I'm not going to be able to make it today. I'm sorry, I can't help you, or just not answering. And then going and praying and meditating. And sometimes it's hard to shake off. Like yesterday when I was all lit up about this coworker, I told her I wasn't able to do something. And then she went to my boss and tattle told on me. And then I was praying not to be vindictive and go back to her boss, because I wanted to let him know what was going on. But I prayed my guts out not to be vindictive and not to, rip into her. Wasn't easy. His omnipotence. I sit on my hands. I pray. I talk to fellows. I get into service. I scheduled this pop-up meeting because I know for me that when all else fails, I called my fellows. Beautiful. Or a simcha here in Jerusalem, in Israel. Went through a lot of big book at me. Nikki M. Gave me a lot of God talk. My other fellows, my beautiful fellows, Michal and Esther K., they gave me so much strength, but I still wasn't myself. When all else fails, working with others. And that's why we're here today. An opportunity to demonstrate his omnipotence. And here's what I want to share with you. Nikki said she was caring for the baby of an addict, baby Grace. I don't know, baby was dropped at her doorstep a few months ago. Now, as you know, a baby is totally helpless. The baby was there with one onesie, a couple of diapers. I don't even know if there was baby formula there. Dropped at Nikki's doorstep. Mazel tov. It's a girl. But see, little baby Grace, she doesn't know this. She doesn't know this. She only feels when she's hungry or feels when she's wet or dirty. Had a WhatsApp group created about her. All of Reco12 was talking about her. Had people bringing over baby clothes and gear and formula and supplies. People were talking about baby Grace, praying for baby Grace. And yesterday, baby Grace's godparents, her blood relatives, took her home with 2 carloads of stuff. And that's when it hit me, my dear, beautiful fellows, that baby Karen, baby Kay, has a creator, a higher power who is caring for her. And he's got all these earth angels working for him that are looking out for her, that are doing stuff for her, that are thinking about her welfare, that want to buy her stuff, that are praying for her, that are rooting for her success. Baby Kay, just like baby Grace, is all taken care of, even though she doesn't know it. And all she feels is when she's wet or upset or hungry or irritable and discontent. Baby Kay has to believe that just like baby Grace had all these people looking out for her, all this stuff ready for her. I want to pick that in the big book. Financial insecurity leaves us. Just be. That's all a baby does. They smile and coo and cry. And they just be. All we have to do is just be. And it's all taken care of. We don't have to write the boss or email the other boss or talk back to mom. We just have to be. And in our lifestyle, that looks like living in 10, 11, and 12. Praying in the morning when we get up, asking for direction throughout the day, doing a nightly review and making amends, asking God to remove our character defects, and bringing what we have so generously received, so graciously received, to the addict who is still suffering, which is the biggest jackpot. Now about health. I'm on page 133. A body badly burned by alcohol does not often recover overnight, nor does twisted thinking and depression vanish in a twinkling. That is the topic today. Twisted thinking and depression. Everything I told you about, wanting to fight my coworker, wanting to fight my fellow who made an unsolicited remark at me, criticizing me. This doesn't vanish overnight. We are convinced that a spiritual mode of living is the most powerful health restorative. You can only see my face, but I got my sneaks on. I went to Tabata yesterday with Pilates. I'm on the phone with you all. Powerful health restorative, mind, body, soul. I pray, I exercise. Thank God I eat healthy. I commit my food to my OA sponsor. And I'm here with you all, and people who are looking to get closer to God, to his work, who aren't running after honor and financial success and power, but people who just want to be God's earth angels, intelligent agent spearheads of his everlasting creation. We who have recovered from serious drinking, sleeping around, acting out, codependency, neediness, are miracles of mental health. Like I said, if we're on this line and we're not in a gutter with an STD, psychotic, dead, we're really miracles of mental health. And then we're useful to others. That is like next level. Or as my trainer at the gym says, that is heaven. That is just heaven. Next level. I repeat, we who have recovered from serious drinking, acting out, are miracles of mental health, but we have seen remarkable transformations in our bodies. Hardly one of our crowd shows any mark of dissipation. So for me, that looks like being in shape, dropping about 8 pounds, doing my eyebrows, pedicure, facials, being well dressed, makeup, etc. For other people, Cameron F. talks about this a lot. They get their teeth done. Says that's a mark of an addict who's recovering. They get their teeth done. I'm trying to think of some of my fellows. I buy some new clothing. Also exercise. Another fellow of mine goes walking. Another one is a yoga teacher. Right? This does not mean we disregard human health measures. God has abundantly supplied this world with fine doctors, psychologists, and practitioners of every kind. Me and many of my fellows utilize therapy. Several fellows who are on medication that isn't addictive, that helps them. We take it to the properly appointed authority. Dietitians, nutritionists. Do not hesitate to take your health problems to such persons. Most of them give freely of themselves that their fellows may enjoy sound minds and bodies. Try to remember that God has wrought miracles among us. We should never belittle a good doctor or psychiatrist. Their services are often indispensable in treating a newcomer and following his case afterwards. Yes, I have sponsees who are medicated, and that's okay. They go to coaches, life coaches, they go to therapists. One of the many doctors who had the opportunity of reading this book in a manuscript told us that the use of sweets was often helpful. So those of us in OA, I eat dates, many don't. Helpful. Of course, depending on a doctor's advice, you probably shouldn't do that if you're diabetic or a compulsive overeater. I'm not going to say this line as an OA person. He thought that all alcoholics should have chocolate available for its quick energy value at times of fatigue. But I'm going to translate that if anyone here is on OA like me. I have to watch what I eat. I have to have food available. I don't have the luxury of letting my blood sugar drop. I can't go a whole day of work without eating because I will feel it. We addicts are sensitive people. Word about sex relations. Those straighten out as well. I'm going to read about kids because I told you I'm a mommy. See, I just had a birthday last week. My friends got me this necklace. It says mom. Anyway, I don't know if you could see it. The alcoholic may find it hard to reestablish friendly relations with his children. Their young minds were impressionable when he was drinking. They may cordially hate him for what he has done for them and his mothers. If you're like me, as a young mom in her disease, codependency, rageaholicism, alcohol wasn't my drug of choice. People, moods, a lot of yelling, aggressiveness, physicality. Kids remember that.
Sometimes they're angry. Sometimes they're hateful. Sometimes they're moody. See, addiction is a family disease. They cannot seem to forgive and forget. They may hang on for months. In time, they will see that he is a new man, and in their own way, they will let him know it. But I'll just tell you this from experience, people. Sometimes they know you're a new man, and sometimes they just want to punish you for the old man you used to be. And we need a lot of patience. We need a lot of pausing, a lot of prayer in these moments because we just want it to all be behind us. Whether the family goes on a spiritual basis or not, the alcoholic member has to. We do not have the luxury of a non-spiritual life, of an anger-filled life, of an honor-filled life. The others must be convinced of his new status beyond the shadow of a doubt. Seeing is believing to most families who have lived with a drinker. We have 3 little mottos which are apropos. First things first. So I'm going to talk about that in context of the family afterwards. Your kids, your family, your community, your fellows, your home. Live and let live. Today, what that looks like is my son, who has great grades. He needed a day off. 2 weeks ago, I fought him on it. I physically removed him from his bed and put him outside the door. And then I felt guilty for about 85 hours. You know how that goes, mommies. Today, he asked for a day off. I was like, oh, yeah. We cease fighting anyone and anything. And he went and brought me fresh fish to cook. And he brought the 6-pack of Diet Coke upstairs. And easy does it. When I was all in a knot yesterday, upset about my coworker and talking to this fellow and that fellow and did a step 10 and nothing was working. I'm finding lately that meditation is really helping. It doesn't solve my problems, but it really helps me pause. I don't mean to endorse, but I personally use Insight Timer. Put in a 20-minute meditation. I go, I meditate, I chill out, I conk out. And when I wake up, everything looks a little less dramatic. Thank God. So again, we use meditation. We use our fellows. We use our 12 steps, including step 12, working with others, being of service, to tackle depression and twisted thinking that we all have. So there's so much more to say. And I just turned the page to employers, which is just such an awesome chapter. But I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to stop right there and thank you for being my agent spearheads, for helping me cure and recover from my depression and twisted thinking just for this morning. I'll be accepting questions in the Q&A in the chat, and you could feel free to post your questions there. I got a question from one of our fellows right before this meeting. Someone reached out to me and said her mom is really nasty and puts her down. And I know all about that from different family members of mine. And one, I just want to say I get you. And it's really hard. I know the big book doesn't say that, but Baby K is saying that. It's really hard and it's really painful. But there is a solution. There is a solution. Having had a spiritual experience, I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to be around when someone's going ballistic. I don't have to take this head on. I can go and pray for them. And it doesn't look like I'm really tempted. The addict in me is really tempted. Karen is really tempted to never speak to my coworker, block mom, when I have done things like that in the past. But we can also just put it on the shelf. We could just pray on it until we're back to our baby K, precious, calm, charming, cooing self. That's just being. Just being and just When someone smiles at us, we smile back at that, just like baby Grace. Let's get into baby K mode, baby E mode, whoever you are, whatever your name is. Just get into baby mode, baby B. Just be. Because you have a God that is taking care of your food, your drink, your surroundings, your finances. Or how about this one? Finding you a partner. That's my one. Everybody's married. Everybody has a boyfriend. Everybody has someone. I got left behind. Now, I'm a religious woman. I believe that God gave the Torah at Mount Sinai and parted the Red Sea. You think he can't find a nice man for me? And he could do it for you too. Nice man, nice woman, nice house, better apartment, loyal friends, a good job, sanity. All powerful higher power could do that for you. See, we have a question here. What does it mean on page 135 when it says first things first? Wow, that's a really good question. And I can't say that I'm such a big book historian and aficionado that I know what Bill and Dr. Bob meant when they wrote that. First things first, I hear in recovery and trying to do God's will, got to do what I got to do first. When I was like new to this program and saw that I was using food, like I would bake a lot. I'm not even such a good baker. Just make the recipe on the back of the chocolate chip bag. I'd make chocolate chip cookies or blondies or whatever. Now, I didn't weigh 200 pounds or anything like that. It was about, 15 pounds overweight. Like I would bake when my sink would be full of dishes. Or like, this morning, my little boy who stayed off, he's got a little bit of a compulsive shopping gene from me, that I got from my elders. And I got home and I told him I have a call at 11 a.m. And he's like, okay, let's quickly go to the intersection. We want to buy new china for the Sabbath. We want to buy new china. Let's do it now. Let's see, first things first. I have about 7 loads of laundry to fold. How to make fish and trina and get my Sabbath meals prepared because I have company tonight. And I had to be here on time with you all. Wouldn't you know, I had a technical difficulty on Zoom, which happens signing in, signing out, different devices. First things first, I got a list of things I got to do. I'm not baking right now, and I'm not going to buy a new set of dishes now. I don't have the time, and it doesn't make sense. First things first could also be spiritual. First things first, I got to pray. I got to talk to my fellows. See, I have friends. Widow friends, 4 beautiful widows that I'm close with that we go on different retreats and hikes and we go out to eat. And they just went to this course given by this woman who actually, ironically enough, talks about codependency and just like a coach type. And then they went out for this like field trip. And like, that's a really good, noble, virtuous thing to do. It's self-care. It's spiritual. It's amazing. But see, like I'm in a routine of exercising now. And so my first thing first was like, no, I got to exercise. I got to put in a load of laundry. And that schedule, that is part of my sanity, whatever little bit of it there is, right? That I had to say no to that. First things first means I say no to stuff, even when it looks good. First things first. I was invited to a wedding of an acquaintance. I really need to go. But I had the chance to go out to dinner with my daughter and spend some quality time with her. First things first. I sit down and enjoy her. First things first to me, waking up, saying your prayers, making your bed in the morning. I hope that answers your question. Do we have any other questions on the line? If we're already talking about first things first, I'd like to talk about take it easy. What does that mean? Does that mean just to be a sloth, just to be a chiller? So, when you find your stomach is in a knot, your legs are shaking, and you're having a real resentment, the number one killer, a real codependent moment, find you're just in a knot. You're not helpful, not of service, not able to shake it off, saying the resentment prayer and all that. Meditation, Insight Timer, has been my lifesaver. Put on a 10, 20-minute meditation. Go chill. Take it easy. It's not really taking it easy, but exercise, really intense exercise with loud music. And that's uncommon sense becomes common sense, or common sense becomes uncommon sense. When I'm feeling really crazy, not like doing anything, is when I have to put myself into really intense exercise to knock the crazies out of me. Just like our section here on health in the family afterwards discussed. If we don't have any more questions, my friends, I'm going to wrap up for today. I think I've spoken a lot. I've shared a lot about depression and twisted thinking, how picking up that first thought, this disease lives in the mind. It's not the cookie. It's not my ex. It's not the man. Oh, by the way, my 10-year-old saw my ex, who I didn't see for 4 years since we were at the rabbinical court of divorce. See, she saw him, but I picked up a thought. She saw him having ice cream with his kids. He dumped me. He left. He's happy. He's moving on. He's laughing and eating ice cream, and I'm miserable. See, I put my magic magnifying mind there, and guess what? I got just what I asked for, and I went from bad to worse. And then I fought with my daughter for 2 days straight. And I got just what I asked for. Now, I could have had another thought. It's hard. This is simple, not easy. I could have said, thank God that ended. I could have lost my kids. They were pre-traumatized by that relationship. Could have lost my life. Could have been in a deep depression. Thank God I got out by the skin of my teeth. So, thank God. So, friends, with this, I would like to never leave you. I'd like to accompany you on to your day in fellowship. In the nursery, we're all just little babies in the hands of a loving higher power who's feeding us, changing us, cleaning us, caring for us, putting a bunch of angels around us. Don't fret. Don't cry. Wah. If your coworker or your mommy or your neighbor or your kids wrong you or snub you, they, like you, may be spiritually sick. But we're going to get on this spiritual mode of living. We've done it this morning. I thank you for being here. If you're listening to the recording, you've done it now. You're in the spiritual mode of living, one day at a time. This is simple. It's not easy. We don't get to get angry like other men. We don't get to be moody like other men. We don't get to answer back like other men. If anything lifts us in God's perfect world, we're just going to do a PP, pause and pray. That's what my fellow Kirsty says. We're going to do PP, pause and pray. We could do PPP, pause, pray, and pay it forward. Your step 12 and work with others, which always saves the day. So thank you for saving my day. I hope we've saved yours. Have a beautiful day. Spread your light and your love and your recovery out there in the world. And we welcome you to join the Afro-Euro Reco12 family. You could join the global Reco12 family. And if you'd like to share on our podcast on Wednesdays, you are invited to join us next Wednesday at 9 a.m. GMT plus 2, 11 a.m. Israel time, where the Mommy Podcast, 3 recovered mothers or mothers in recovery, are going to dive deep into step 3. Became willing to give our life and our will over to the care of God as we understood him. A decision we make day to day, moment to moment, and that I encourage you to take now. Higher power, your will, not ours, be done. Bye-bye.
reflecting on the landscape of this life of mine. Peaks too high to conquer, streams too wide to cross, troughs too deep to walk through without incurring loss. Yet here I am, still standing tall, despite the rough terrain. One like me survived the storms and walked through wind and rain. Still standing, I will fight the good fight. Still searching for glimmers of light. Feet still on the ground, I can still be found. Standing still.
I still can fly. I may not soar unfettered. I may not rise too high.
Recorded in the book of life and binded with the seal that I am bowed and broken. I am standing still.
Only God knows where the path of life will yet lead me. I do not even ask to know. I do not need to see.
It is enough to know that I'm loved and not